Hey friends, it's me, it's Jamal. And in light of the Supreme Court's decision to hear Proposition 8 and DOMA, I wanted to make a video blog, and I wanted to basically just say some things that were on my mind, and so I wrote some things down. And hopefully this doesn't come across like I'm just reading something, because I actually am, something that I just wrote down a few minutes ago. But I wrote it down because I wanted, my thoughts to be concise and put together, and I didn't want to go off on, anyway. On the issue of the Constitution and marriage and DOMA and the Supreme Court. The Constitution is silent on the issue of marriage and its definition. The powers delegated by the states to the federal government, not one of them mentions marriage. Marriage has long been held as a state power under the 10th Amendment, but in truth, marriage is not an explicit power given to the states. One could argue that the question of marriage ultimately lies with the individual citizens per the 9th Amendment. In the historic Supreme Court case, Loving v. Virginia, the case that ended bans on interracial marriage in America, the court wrote in its opinion that marriage was a basic, fundamental human right that of all people. Does not that statement apply to same-sex couples? Proposition 8 and laws like it throughout the nation, in my opinion, are the modern-day equivalent to the Jim Crow laws like Virginia's 1924 Racial Integrity Act, the act that made it a state crime for blacks and whites to marry. Proposition 8, like the Racial Integrity Act, seeks to prevent adults, competent and rationally thinking individuals, from joining together in a lifelong union. The state does not possess such power. The people of that state do not possess such a power. In a constitutional republic, the rights of the minority are protected from the tyranny of a majority. In America, one American does not possess the power to strip others of their rights by voting, particularly a right the Supreme Court has called a basic and fundamental human right. Some anti-gay marriage evangelicals believe their cause is just because a certain percentage of the population may have supported their positions in the past, or may support them today. But I remind my social conservative brethren and friends that Jim Crow laws sprinkled throughout the South were heavily supported by white Southerners at the time. In fact, a 1958 Gallup poll showed a staggering 96% of whites disapproved of interracial marriages. Now, did that level of approval make the law valid? Was it applicable because that many people disapproved of it? The purpose of the 14th Amendment was to protect a minority, free blacks, from the tyranny of a majority white population who saw them as second-rate human beings and did not want to recognize their rights as citizens. The amendment was enacted to prevent racial differences in human beings from being exploited to discriminate. States cannot erect discriminatory laws based upon people's personal or religious beliefs. The evangelical wing within the Republican Party truly believes homosexuality to be a choice. This is why they will not equate the GLBT struggle and fight for equality with equality for blacks during the Civil Rights era. They understand being black. Well, they understand now being black isn't a choice, but they refuse to believe the same about homosexuality. They say being gay is a learned behavior, that heterosexual children born perfectly heterosexual, are somehow turned gay by societal influences or some kind of emotional trauma while they're growing up. Nothing, of course, could be further from the truth, and I speak from experience. I am a gay male. I was not molested. I grew up in a two-parent household with a mother and a father. I was raised in a Christian household, and my father is even an ordained minister of the gospel. I did not grow up around gay people, and I didn't see homosexuality on TV till well into my teenage years. So where did I learn this behavior? Marriage equality opponents say homosexual relationships go against nature, but once again, they're wrong. There are hundreds of various animal species, including primates, very close to humans, that naturally engage and exhibit homosexuality. The bonobo, a close relative to humans, is an exclusively all bisexual species. Yes, an exclusively all bisexual species. Now, did the bonobos or other primates or other species of animals that engage in homosexual activity, the hundreds of species, did they learn this activity from watching Will and Grace, from watching The New Normal, from watching RuPaul's Drag Race? Where did they learn this? Where did they learn it? They didn't learn it. It occurs naturally. And in closing, I would just say this. 20 years from now, I believe that we are going to look back on the issue of same-sex marriage the same way today that we look back on the issue of interracial marriage, the same way we look back on the issue of slavery, of whether black people were, you know, three-fifths of a man, or whether we were full citizens or not. I believe that 20 years from now, 30 years from now, we're going to look back on this, and people are going to be amazed that in America we actually had a fight, you know, about denying or recognizing the marriages of consenting adults, you know. And in closing, one message to Republicans: I would ask the Republican Party, the party that freed the slaves, the party that was the party of abolition, don't they want to be on the right side of history? Don't you want to be on the right side of history? This is the issue that the United States Supreme Court has called a basic fundamental right. Marriage is a basic fundamental human right. Does not the Republican Party want to be on the right side of history? Thank you.